Ordinary moments take ordinary focus on God. Ordinary habits can fail us in the face of extraordinary circumstances. Extraordinary circumstances force us to take extraordinary measures to maintain our focus on God. The second of Paul's crash site strategies is this. He vents the very ugly feelings about the crash to God. Do you feel dumb or embarrassed venting emotions to God? Are there things that you've felt that feel too foolish to say, or too dark, too embarrassing? Having to admit that you thought God had forgotten you, having to admit that you had wished death and dismemberment upon those that had hurt you. There are places in this world where admitting to depression will cause others to see you as weak, and it'll damage your social or professional opportunities. This crash site strategy has very specific tools with it. I used to have lots of strong emotions that I didn't have words for. And it really troubled me that I would be so shipwrecked by a given feeling and not even be able to articulate what it was. How do you pray about it? I mean, you can reach out for God's help, but I mean, how do you pray about something you can't even name? So I read an article on Wikipedia where it identifies and has specific articles on, I believe, 75 different identifiable human emotions. I feel that if that is the amount there are, and it could be more, could be less, trying to talk about emotion without a suitable vocabulary is like buying a Swiss Army knife and realizing all you have is the spoon, or you're only using the spoon, you know. Swiss Army knives have so many great attachments, knives and scissors and corkscrews and nail files and various interesting things. The primary human emotions are deemed to be anger, disgust, fear, happiness, sadness, and surprise. Anger is in the human brain so that you can stand up to injustice. Perhaps if you had hunted a deer and a larger animal tries to take it away from you, your anger might be the thing that scares that thing away and you get the thing that you wanted. Disgust has a lot more value when you are trying to avoid being poisoned by things, to avoid being hurt by eating the wrong thing. So that if you saw a member of your tribe eat meat that had this green or yellow film on it, and you notice that they vomited for 2 days, when you see the green and yellow film, you get a sense of disgust. So I know what that is. It's going to make me sick. Fear can protect us from real danger. It can also protect us from not real danger, and protects the wrong word, can insulate us from opportunity, from love, and from money, and from friends. Happiness. We know happiness, sadness, and surprise. So as I began reading this very helpful set of articles, I discovered that I was having specific emotional experiences that I could analyze, that I could pray about, that I could talk to God about. This helped me to have a vocabulary to talk about what was happening inside of me. And I think that some have accused me of being obsessed with names. I think names are important as a way to reference ideas. That is, imagine a heavy suitcase with all your possessions, all your complicated possessions, and the handle falls off. You've got a much more awkward time carrying it around. And you put the handle back on, and suddenly you can get this cumbersome set of things moving and get them where you want to go. I think names are just handles. They simplify things. And so names of feelings enable you to talk about feelings. And if it's mentionable, it's manageable, said a very wise man. I discovered that a lot of my emotional shipwrecks, a lot of my crash sites, have to do with specific emotion that I have that's not really part of the normal American emotional lexicon. It's more common in places where uh, Vikings and Germanic people come from. And that is an emotion that is common to me, but uncommon to many. And I hate, I wish I could say it properly, Sehnsucht, which I've heard multiple definitions for, but imagine you've got in your head the sense of how things are supposed to be, and you're pining for the world as it's intended to be, as it's supposed to be. Um, as an INTJ, there's a sense that things ought to be planned and logical, and people should think out consequences before they act on them. And there shouldn't be a world. This is subjective, emotional, introverted feeling stuff, by the way. The world should not be governed by chaos. It should be governed by a plan. It should be governed by strategy. It should be people making clear upfront agreements about what they want from other people, and then holding each other accountable, or rather just intending to hold themselves accountable. So that when people have broken agreements with me, so that when people have made a time-based appointment with me, and that is broken, there's something that's happened inside my Sehnsucht that has rendered me kind of shocked and stunned, and left me quietly processing, but disengaged from people, disengaged from situations, and off track enough to be off track, because of the disappointment, the deep existential disappointment with the difference between my expectations for the world, my expectations for people, and how it's actually worked. I don't think we fix our emotions. I don't think we get freed from emotions. All NTs, I would say, would love to be freed from emotions, transcend them. Not necessarily. I mean, the ways that they kind of make other people illogical, or the ways that they cause us conflict inside of ourselves. Feelings are not bad, but I believe as long as you have a soul, you're going to have thoughts and feelings and a will. And it's a matter of understanding yourself and knowing how to discipline yourself and respond to your own weaknesses, as opposed to denying they exist, as opposed to staying at crash sites for years. So let's say you're horrified. Let's say you are full of anger. Let's say that you are full of lust. Let's say that you are unbelievably sad and feel like those things can't be talked about, either because of your culture, because of how people in your profession, people in your church, people in your family respond to those emotions. Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've been told my emotions were just wrong. And that doesn't help you with this process. That's a non-helpful, non-starter, non-constructive thing to say to somebody. Oh, your feelings are just wrong. Now, as I said before, um, these places on the soul map are analogous with places in life you shouldn't spend all your time, but every human eventually goes. Every human spends some time, and it's a matter of whether or not how you respond to it, whether or not you stay there. Does your silence chain you to an emotional car crash? This is the only, you may not want to be able to be articulate with God about the things that hurt you, about the ways that you feel about these upsets. Maybe when you are confessing how much that your parents' death affected you, you have to admit ways that you responded selfishly, ways that you loved them and hated some of the ways they acted. And it's hard to say that. But God has connected healing and confession. Not confession of sin as in that sense, but confession of this is what's really inside here. And David is masterfully giving examples over and over of, yeah, I wanted to kill the guy. I wanted God to kill the guy. I was pretty sure I was going to kill myself. I was pretty sure they were going to kill me. I was pretty sure if I didn't hear this thing from God, I was just going to die in my sleep. Talking about his damaged physical desires. So this is the alternative. Is the silence about venting to God about those feelings chaining you to a spot in the desert where you emotionally or spiritually crashed your car, or trying to turn over the ignition because you can't admit, yes, I crashed. I'm in the desert. I'm crying. I am broken in these several ways. I'm full of disgusting emotions that I'm not comfortable talking about. Is it keeping you trying to make it work without admitting to God the worst things about your experience? If I blessed you, encouraged you, please like and subscribe.